In this video, we're going to be going over the JC maintenance box. This is also known as the JC C1 second generation maintenance cable. It's similar to those two that we used to use. This one is called the power cable, and it has battery connectors for every iPhone that we have. Like we have one cable for the iPhone 6, one cable for the iPhone 7, so on and so forth. And the main purpose of this is to have battery connector plugged into the motherboard that you are working on, and then we plug the other end to the power supply, and then when we turn the phone on, we monitor how much amps is being drawn by the phone. The cons of this cable is it doesn't have a charging connector, so we cannot power the phone on using this device, and we have to have the charge and flex cable and the lightning cable plugged into the phone in order to power the phone on. So this one here only acts as a battery replacement. We do not have to have an actual battery plugged into the phone. We just plug this cable here, and we supply the voltage to this battery connector from the power supply. And when we turn the phone on, we can monitor the amps that's being drawn by the phone. The second cable that we have is called the iPower Pro. iPower Pro is a great device. It allows you to plug in both the charging FPC and the battery FPC onto the phone, so we do not have to have any charging flex cable connected onto the motherboard of the phone. Maybe I'm working on the iPhone motherboard and I do not have the charging flex cable connected to it, and I do not have the motherboard connected onto the casing of the phone, and I want to be able to turn the phone on. So what we can do in this case is we can connect this cable. It's the charging FPC connector and the battery FPC connector. We can connect both of them onto the iPhone's motherboard, and we can use this device to turn the phone on. The other end will go into the power supply, and then we can monitor on the power supply how many amps are being drawn by the phone. Three cons I found with this iPower Pro device. Number one, the FEC connectors on this extremely weak. I already have a couple of them damaged on here. We have the 6S Plus damaged, we have the 6 damaged. Every time I plug this cable in any iPhone, I'm worried that the FEC connector is gonna go bad. Let me show you what I mean. So if you look here, I mean, look at this. The FEC connector is bent, and I barely put any pressure when I plug this cable onto the phone, to the motherboard. And I tried to straighten out the FEC connector as much as I could so I can still use this cable. But there's so much you can do. And that's the problem with the iPower Pro device. Look at how weak the connector is. Look at this. So you plug this the wrong way, or you put more pressure than you should on this connector, it's gonna go bad, and you cannot use it anymore unless you order a set of tips from China. Now the second con to these is they came unsoldered, so we had to manually solder those connectors onto the cable. We had to do this for every single cable. It's not a big deal, but I would like this tool to come ready to use and not having to solder every single tip, and then we had to use the shrink wraps, heat up the shrink wraps and all that stuff. When I order a tool, I would like to use it immediately, and I do not like to do any soldering onto the tool that I'm using to test the iPhones. The third con is I noticed a lot of times when I have this plugged into the iPhone motherboard, I turn the phone on, iPhone turns on, everything is good, and I'm able to monitor the amps being drawn by the power supply here. But after a while, the phone reboots, and I've had this happen to a point where I started to use the other cable because of the rebooting issue. Now, the JC tool that we have in here solved the rebooting issue. They have an algorithm programmed into that device that solves the rebooting issue. It allows you to have the phone on for a longer period of time without experiencing any reboots. So let's go over what the JC C1 maintenance box does. The box looks something like this, and this one, I can tell you, I already tested this cable. It's a lot better than those two cables that we used to use, and I'll tell you why. We have this tool here. One end of the tool is a USB-C connector, and the other end is a USB connector. And we have an OLED screen here with two switches, SW1 and SW2. That's it. The other thing in the box is this one here. It's a power supply plug with a USB female connector, and this end here goes onto the power supply, red and black. And the other things in the box are the tail connectors. One end is USB-C, and note we do not have to do any soldering like the other one that we talked about, the iPower Pro. This one here comes already soldered. We do not have to do anything to it. It's already shrink wrapped and all that good stuff. And this cable comes with a USB-C connector, and we have a battery and charging FPC connector here. So if we have the motherboard out and we want to test it, we plug both cables, one to the charging FPC connector and one to the battery FPC connector. You can plug this to a USB wall unit, or you can plug it to your computer, or you can plug it to your power bank, and you can monitor amps and voltage from the OLED screen here. So we do not even have to have a power supply. I can use this and monitor everything on this screen here. So what I'm going to do is plug the JC tool to the power source, which is our wall outlet. And now we can see the readings on the screen. And the readings look something like this. Switch number 1, if you press and hold switch number 1, it's going to switch languages. So if I press and hold, it's a different language now. If I press and hold, it's English now. If you do not press and hold, if you just press once, USB 5 volts open, USB 5 volts closed. What is closed and what is open? This tool did not come with any manuals, no books, nothing like that, but it shouldn't be very difficult to figure out. JC has a software that you can use to monitor the amps being drawn by the phone, and it will give you a chart of when the phone boots up. Maybe the chart goes up because a lot of amps are being drawn by the phone, and then as the phone boots up and turns on, then the amps being drawn will go down, and the software will actually show you a chart of what's happening. That's very nice. I downloaded the software. I did not try out the feature. Maybe we can do that later on. But right now, we see the voltage and we see the amps on the screen here. What's nice about this tool is we no longer have to be attached to our power supply. We no longer have to use our power supply. We have the readings all on the OLED screen here. The OLED screen is very sharp. You can easily see it. And it's not like those cheap screens that you see on tools. This is an OLED display. Now I have this black cable connected to the USB power adapter, and I have this connected onto it. And we have everything displayed on the screen here. The other end of this is the tail plug, which is the one that plugs into your iPhone's motherboard. So one of them plugs into the battery and the other one plugs into the charging FEC connector. We can have the whole motherboard taken out of the phone, and we do not have to have anything plugged into that motherboard, and we can only use these two cables to power that board on to see if it's working or not. Maybe I'm working on a motherboard, I want to see if it's working after I fix it, so I just plug those two cables in, and I can monitor if the phone is drawing any amperage from here. Which brings me to SW2. What is SW2 here? We discussed SW1. If you press and hold, you will change the language. If you press once, it will take you between USB 5 volts open or USB 5 volts closed. The other one here, SW2. If you press it once, it flips the display. And if you press again, it flips the display again. Note, we do not have the English language here on the top. So in order to switch language, I press and hold SW1, and now we are in English. Press SW2 once, flips the screen. Press it once, it flips the screen. Now, if you press and hold SW2, it will turn the phone on. So pressing and holding SW2 is like a power button for the iPhone. This is the tail plug. It's a USB-C connector. We can plug it in either way. So I can plug the cable in like so, or I can plug it like so. So it goes in both ways. That's very nice because we do not have to guess which way we have to plug the cable in. I can plug it anyway and it will fit. The tail plug here is very, very well made. It comes pre-soldered. We do not have to do any soldering onto the cable like we did with the iPower Pro. And best of all, the FEC connectors on here are extremely high quality. They do not get bent easily. They do not get damaged easily like the iPower Pro that I showed you. I do not imagine this tail plug will go bad anytime soon, but of course it's not bulletproof, and we'll see. Time will tell. Okay, let's use iPhone 6s. Right now we need the tail plug for iPhone 6s. We're gonna disconnect the battery and charging Flux cable, and then let's put the JC tail plug here. We connect the battery first, and you see how easy it is to just snap the battery in, the connector for the battery, and then the charge-in connector follows. Once the battery connector is aligned, and then it's very easy to just press this down like this. And then let's plug the screen. Right now we do not have any power going onto the phone, so it's safe to plug the screen in. Okay, so the screen is plugged in, and now we're gonna plug the C1 tool here. And let's monitor and see. Right now 5 volts is being supplied onto the phone, but amps being drawn by the phone is 0.0, which means that the phone is not on and it's not drawing any amps. Now to turn that phone on, we press and hold SW2. And the phone turns on. Now if you look at the amps being drawn by the phone, you can see 0.3, 0.4. It's gonna go up higher as the phone boots, and then it's gonna go down when everything is booted and loaded. We do not have to have a power supply to see the readings. We can just look at the OLED display here to see how many amps the phone is drawing. I do not have to be next to the power supply in order to see the readings, but I can be on any one of the benches and still test any iPhone that I'm working on. So that's how easy and how convenient it is to use this tool. We no longer have to be attached to our power supply here. We no longer have to have a power supply in order to see the readings. Everything is built inside this tool. A very nice OLED display. Let me just disconnect the phone, we no longer need it. So the OLED display is very crisp, very sharp, and very easy to use. This tool is very well made. I can tell by the way the cable feels. I mean, this is not cheap stuff. This is very, very high quality. The box itself is very high quality. And just like I said about the TriStar tester, I do not see this going bad anytime soon. This is very well made. The cables, you can tell when the cable is flimsy, cheap, or when the cable is high quality. This is high quality stuff. The tail plugs or the tail connectors, they are very well made. I've been using this for the past couple of days and no issues at all. The same day I got the iPower Pro, I damaged the 6S Plus FEC connector. I did not do anything wrong. I just plugged the connector in and it got bent all over. I tried to straighten out the FEC connector, but this is so soft to a point where it's not possible to straighten and fix the FEC connector once it goes bad. I no longer have to worry about this issue. We went through everything inside the box except for the power supply banana plugs. This is very straightforward. And this one goes to our power supply. Red on red, black on black. And now we're gonna feed 5 volts onto this device here. You can see that it's on. The reason this is on is because we are feeding 5 volts from here to here. And then what we do is we attach the tail plug onto the phone. We plug the USB-C connector here. And now we can monitor amps being drawn by the power supply here. We can either monitor amps being drawn from here, or we can still monitor it from here. So we have 2 displays. Because we have this OLED display here, we no longer have to attach this device to our power supply, and we no longer have to look at the readings on the power supply. We can simply look at the readings right over here. So would I recommend this tool? Most definitely. This is one of the best cables that we've had for powering an iPhone on and monitoring amps being drawn by the phone. Like I said, I've tried every single one of them, and this one by far is the best one that I came across. Now, in the previous video where we discussed the TriStar tester, I told you that we partnered up with JC. We told them that we want to sell their products and we want to be their partners in the US. And we have a shipment coming in from JC. This tool will be sold on our website. I'll post a link down below. And that's it for this video. I really love this tool. And I'm not only saying this because we are selling this product. The only reason we partnered up with JC and we decided to sell their products here in the US is because we love the quality of their products. Very, very useful. The quality is unmatched. When you hold this product in your hand, you feel quality. You do not feel anything cheap about this tool. The tail plugs, you feel quality, unlike the other cables that we have in here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and we'll do something else in the next video.